The darkest and most valuable secrets of mankind have always been guarded under lock and key to the best of the keeper's abilities. High security research facilities are arguably the modern world's largest troves of valuable information and advanced technologies. Often based in desolate locations, far out of the public's immediate attention, it is said that these secret government bases house otherworldly objects such as UFOs or the remains of the pilots to these extraterrestrial craft. Famous examples of these facilities may be transparent in Area 51 or S4, the HARP Research Station in Alaska, and the Raven Rock Mountain Complex in Pennsylvania. However, one of the most infamous of these facilities is the Dugway Proving Grounds. The Dugway Proving Grounds were constructed in the spring of 1942 after the U.S. Chemical Warfare Service determined that a testing facility was required and deemed to be placed in a more remote location other than the Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland the previous year. During the summer of 1942, testing commenced on various World War II weapons, such as flamethrowers, toxic agents, chemical spray devices, antidotes to bioweaponry, and compounds and protective gear. In October of 1943, Dugway Proving Grounds established biological warfare facilities in an isolated area within Dugway Proving Grounds known as the Granite Peak Installation. UTTR's range telemetry and tracking radar installation, Dugway Proving Grounds was slowly phased out after World War II, becoming inactive in August of 1946. The base was reactivated during the Korean War under CO Lieutenant Colonel Spears Ponder. In 1954, it was confirmed as a permanent department of the U.S. Army installation. In October of 1958, the United States Army Chemical Center in Maryland detached the U.S. Army Chemical, Biological, and Radiological Weapons School to Dugway Proving Grounds. Horrifying weapons of war were created at this facility, capable of mass destruction in concentration ranging from long-range artillery cartridges containing chemical components ranging from mustard gas to various nerve agents. The most commonly used was sarin, an odorless, colorless liquid which had no other use than death on a large scale. On March 17, 1968, at 12:30 a.m., the director of the University of Utah's Ecological and Epidemiological Contract with Dugway, a Dr. Bode, phoned Keith Smart, the chief of the Ecology and Epidemiology branch at Dugway, to report that 3,000 sheep were dead in the Skull Valley area. The initial report of the incident came to Bode from the manager of a Skull Valley livestock company. The sheep were grazing in an area about 27 miles from the proving ground. Total sheep deaths of 6,000 to 6,400 were reported over the next several days as a result of the incident. The Dugway Safety Office's attempt to count the dead sheep compiled a total of 3,843. This would come to be known as the Dugway Sheep Incident or the Skull Valley Sheep Kill. In the days preceding the Dugway Sheep Incident, the United States Army at Dugway Proving Grounds conducted at least 3 separate operations involving nerve agents. All 3 operations occurred on March 13th of 1968. One involved test firing a chemical artillery shell, another the burning of 160 U.S. gallons of nerve agent in an open air pit, and in the third, a jet aircraft sprayed nerve agent on a target area about 27 miles west of Skull Valley. It is the third event that is usually connected to the Skull Valley sheep kill. Previously obtained documents said one such demonstration also occurred the day before the mysterious sheep deaths. On the 13th of March, an F-4 Phantom Strike aircraft flew a test mission over the Dugway Proving Ground with chemical dispensers containing VX, a potent nerve agent. One of the dispensers was not completely empty during the test, and as the F-4 gained altitude after its bombing run, VX trickled out in a trail behind the aircraft, drifted into Skull Valley, north of the proving grounds, and settled over a huge flock of sheep. Other information contradicted the initial assumptions about the cause of the incident. One contradiction to nerve agent exposure as a cause came in the symptoms of some of the sheep following the incident. Several sheep still alive sat unmoving on the ground. The sheep refused to eat but exhibited normal breathing patterns and showed signs of internal hemorrhaging. Regular breathing and internal hemorrhaging are inconsistent with nerve agent exposure. Interesting is, and in fact, no other animals of any type, including cows, horses, dogs, rabbits, or birds, appeared to have suffered any ill effects, a circumstance that was hard to explain if VX had in fact caused the sheep deaths. On May 8th, 2011, Army Specialist Joseph Bushling was driving away from Dugway at 4 a.m., something that, according to his friends, wasn't too unusual. This time, however, Joseph never returned home. On the day of his disappearance, he left a strange voicemail for Herman Herrera, a former lieutenant of Special Operations. "It's Bushling. I need a ride. All right, talk to you later." Herman said he called again after that, and Joseph sounded frantic. His car was found empty about 65 miles away from the main entrance to Dugway a week later. His hat and his shoes were also found nearby, but there was no sign of a body. There was no evidence of assault or that he had taken his life. It was unusual on many fronts, Tooele County Sheriff Frank Park told Fox 13. Usually, you can work back. Once you find the victim, you can work backward and you can get some really solid answers. We never had a victim, we never had a subject, and we had no idea why we couldn't find him. Bushling was branded a deserter by the U.S. Army, and they've since washed their hands of the matter. His father, Kevin Bushling, stated in an interview with local news that he was grateful for the many hours volunteers have spent searching for his son. But mostly, he's just spent and angry. He feels like a straight-up search for a missing person has been compromised by something. He just doesn't know what. He does not believe his son disappeared on purpose and is in hiding somewhere, though he's heard some in positions of authority over the missing soldier may believe that. He just decided to drop out and live off the grid? I'm sorry, I don't believe that. My son is not like that. He went missing on Mother's Day. My wife's birthday was May 16th. If he was alive and able to contact us, he would have contacted us. If you were to ask locals of Tooele County about Dugway, it is very likely that you would be buried by the number of anecdotal eyewitness accounts of UFO sightings over Dugway airspace. Much like Area 51, Area 52, as Dugway has been nicknamed, is a magnet for UFO enthusiasts looking for evidence that the US government secretly obtained and has been experimenting with alien technology for years. One of the biggest revelations they point to are confessions from Dr. Ben Rich, the former CEO of one of Dugway's biggest defense contractors. In his documentary, The Sirius Project, leading UFOologist Stephen Greer puts forward his evidence that trillions of dollars have been siphoned into a shadow government from the main government's budget for years, operating beyond the jurisdiction of the Department of Defense and even the President. He claims that just before 9/11, $3 trillion, a quarter of the military's budget, went missing from the military's defense funds. Greer says that this irregularly has been going on since World War II, when it would have been channeled into funding secret operations like the Manhattan Project. Nowadays, the money could be going towards ET research at Dugway instead. In closing, perhaps the events of the sheep kill are nothing more than an unfortunate circumstance of chemical weapons testing, and perhaps the UFO sightings and disappearance of personnel is nothing more than coincidence. It's obvious now more than ever that the government is not an open body of free-flowing information. The largest question is, do they act in the best interest of their people, or are their plans nefarious in nature?